This video here is going to be quite multifaceted. We're going to be talking about a bunch of different issues, but it's all just going to center around my undying loathing that I have for the establishment that's out there. I don't give a shit if they're Democrats or Republicans. At the end of the day, the swamp is deep, wide, and is in definite need of being evacuated ex post facto. But first and foremost, yay, wonderful. Okay, this fucking Senate vote, it was just always just gonna be a fucking big song and dance anyways. When it came to codifying Roe v Wade, they needed 60 votes. We went over this last week. It was always going to end up, well, like one of those abortions that the fucking Democrats were going to stump for. DOA. And yeah, Joe Manchin hops across the board and he decides to side with the Republicans anyways, because abortion in his home state, and he's one of the last senators and, well, really elected officials that actually sides with what his constituents like, because in West Virginia, abortion, not all that popular, like I said, but he's one of those people that actually represents his constituents. You gotta give him at least his flowers for that move, because it's very rare and it's not very common in today's day and age that, yes, elected representatives actually do that. They're more or less in line to side with the ideologies of their party and less about being the elected representative for their constituents and being the voice of the voters. But let's just go over this one real quickly, because I don't really care at this point. It's a dead issue. We'll just wait until the Supreme Court, if they don't cave or buckle, we'll just have to wait until the summer or maybe later than that. But whatever. The Senate voted on May 11th to filibuster the Democrats' Women's Health Protection Act, which would have codified the extended Roe v Wade, as the Supreme Court seems intent on striking down the precedent. Yeah. Until they cave after all the protesting. It's like, I just can't. I just, my family and whatever other fucking limp-wristed, weak-kneed fucking babble that they come up with, and somebody ends up flipping with Roberts and siding with all the liberals, and then it just becomes another campaign talking point to somehow resuscitate this failing platform for the Democrats, and then, yes, usher in another summer of love, and then all of the scared bitches that are out there will just fucking vote Democrat just to make all of the fire stop, and then continue to wonder why this fucking cycle continues to perpetuate every couple of years. Anyways, regardless, the 51-49 vote was mostly along party lines, with all Republicans and Senator Joe Manchin voting against the measure. They needed 60 votes anyways. According to the draft opinion leaked by Politico on May 2nd, yes, Justice Samuel Alito has locked and loaded it, pulled back the trigger, and now he's just waiting to pull the trigger. Pulled back the hammer and waiting to pull the trigger. That's the right terminology. The court hasn't yet issued a final opinion. Don't let the media know that, because they're running on it right now. But yeah, no, it's dead. It's as dead as the lingering remains of the spring break trip down to Cancun. It is fucking done and dusted. But that wasn't the only thing that the Senate was up to today. In fact, yes, that $40 billion in aids for Ukraine. Yeah, it's heading over there because, yep, nobody gives a fuck about it. Just continue to warmonger and support the military-industrial complex. Remember, these are elected officials for the United States of America, but they seem to be more content about sending your tax-paying dollars across the world, okay? They could give a fuck about what's happening, okay? You've seen the pictures of the empty shelves where baby formula should be. Do they have a plan for that? No, we're just gonna send billions of dollars off to some fucking corrupt nation in the middle of Europe. Great, wonderful, fantastic. Final congressional approval for the $40 billion Ukraine aid bill seems certain within days, as top Senate Republicans said Wednesday they expect strong GOP backing for the House-passed measure, which was a huge fucking margin. The Associated Press about the legislation learned that the House cleared the piece of legislation late Tuesday by an emphatic 368 to 57. That's it. Those are the only 50. That's unfucking believable. Yes, GOP whip John Poon of South Dakota predicted a big vote over here. Yeah, of course, it'll be in the 90s, okay? Because everybody loves a good conflict, right? You don't need to let a tragedy go to waste. Which is, yeah, apparently, some of the stuff that you see out of Ukraine, it's pretty tragic, right? And of course, I feel bad for anybody who died in the conflict on both sides of the aisle. But again, you're kind of fighting for a cause that's maybe not entirely all that just, but anyways, back on track. Thune said some Republicans would vote against it and procedural tactics by opponents to slow it if it were possible, but added, I think, because there's so much forward momentum behind doing this and doing it in a timely way that I think anybody, although we won't have anybody to hold it up. Yeah, no, exactly. I can only think of like Rand Paul to probably vote against that because that's just his shtick, and maybe a couple other Republicans, but the Democrats are all whole hog on that one, so don't really worry too much about that. Why is it such a foregone conclusion? Well, you can just take the words right out of the turtle's mouth. We all agree the most important thing going on in the world right now is the war in Ukraine. No, it's not. I cannot agree to that at all whatsoever, okay? It's probably the most important thing going on in Ukraine right now, okay? But for the world, no. Ukraine is Ukraine's problem, and I guess Russia's problem by proxy as well. Like, it's such a terrible situation that's going on over there, and they need so much additional funding that Nancy Pelosi and her fucking henchlings can go along, and you can have Justin Trudeau show up and, I don't know, get a bomb-sniffing dog that barks at him, and he can't fucking fly a flag, which is kind of a little too on the nose. All he needs to do is just hold the L in flag and he'd be fairly fucking spot on. But the fact that Mitch just really wants to fucking continue the long legacy of other establishment rhinos by just losing with dignity, it's almost sad, but it's so on point for Mitch that I don't really know what else to say. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell announced on Tuesday that he chatted with President Joe Biden last week in an effort to secure a multi-billion-dollar AIDS package to Ukraine, while claiming that his Senate colleagues agreed that the war in Eastern Europe nation was the most important thing in the world right now. The DC establishment might believe the fight against Russia should be the federal government's top priority, but polling indicates that American people are more concerned about issues relating to the economy and inflation and the shit that's actually going on in their own backyard. Because yes, terrible what's happening over there. Yes, anybody that's actually dying that's not staged and they aren't, crisis actors posing for the camera, that shit is like actually sad. But that sucks for them, not your concern, not your tax dollars that should be going over there to buy more, I don't know, fucking fuel for the MiG-29 for the ghost of Kiev. But it's funny too. You can point it out on the other side. It's like, okay, the Democrats are so gung-ho about border security for Ukraine. I feel almost tired by saying this all the time. They're so concerned about maintaining those borders over there, but they couldn't give a fuck about what's going on at the southern border. There's not a problem there at all whatsoever. Nope, not 200,000 people month over month being apprehended, trying to get in illegally. And then once they get here, they're held in detention and then released within the country as well, if not just flewed about. People give a fuck about that. People give a fuck about the stagflation that's on the horizon, okay? The rampant inflation. They're telling you that it's just about 10%, but the actual number would actually make your fucking toes curl. But they won't actually, I say actually again, I'm gonna fucking cave my own skull in. But if they told you what was the precise number when it came to inflation, there'd be more than just protests outside the homes of the Supreme Court justices. But you'll also notice what isn't in there at all whatsoever. Abortion. It's not popular. Nobody gives a fuck about it. The only people who care about it ardently are the people who are going to vote Democrat anyways, okay? They are the ones who want to be fucking killing the kids that they're never going to be impregnated in order to deliver to begin with. So who gives a fuck at this point? McConnell held a press conference on Tuesday flanked by GOP senators to discuss the pending $40 billion AIDS package for Ukraine that is likely to get voted upon sometime this week. I think we all agree that the most important thing going on in the world right now is the war in Ukraine, McConnell told reporters. I had a chance to call the president last week and request that the Ukraine package move by itself and quickly. He said, let me think it over, and I'm still waiting for him to gestate a thought. He called back in about 15 minutes and agreed we need to do this for Ukraine only and quickly. Don't understand, because we've also talked about the incoming strategy, the strategy for the midterm elections from the establishment side of the Republican Party. We're not the Democrats. And then you just openly and ardently say, oh, well, we're working, hand in hand with President Joe, who's the bad guy. Oh yeah, we don't like his policies and we're going to take back the Senate and changes are going to be made around here. You think we're stupid? You think we're fucking blind? That's why you and your people in these positions continue to lose over and over and over again. to the orange man. He's just on the horizon, kids. He's popular. His policies are popular, okay? You thought that you could just, suffocate him of oxygen over the past couple of years. You didn't have to bring up his name. You could just let the January 6th committee do their fucking magic. You didn't have to input anything in there, okay? You could just let it be the most atrocious thing to literally happen to the country, literally ever, fantastically for the rest of all times, okay? There would be nothing more tragic than January 6th. Sure, whatever. Continue to run on that narrative. And you thought that it'd be a return to normalcy. You could bring back the Mitt Romney-style Republican Party. Lose with dignity, my friend. But no, that's not what the working class likes. That's not what the Republican base likes. They like true American first strategies. Okay, they like, as Joe Biden likes to put it, the ultra mega agenda, objective, whatever he'd say. It would be fucking mushed mouth regardless. But, as you can see, there's one lone blemish there. It used to be unanimous, okay? All the way up until yesterday. And it was the most contentious. It was the toughest race that was there. And then the guy who ended up getting the nomination, it wasn't really all that bad to begin with. But anyways, Trump-backed candidates, 58-1 in primaries following races in Nebraska and West Virginia. There's going to be more primaries throughout the rest of the week through the intervening months, leading all the way up until November, of course, and it's going to be a little bit more snug and closer. Start to get into Pennsylvania and Georgia, some of those other places as well. And then once we have a little bit more clear of a picture when it comes to gubernatorial races and Senate posts, that's when we'll have a more clear insight as to how these races are going to shake out and who the people are. But yeah, no, we could run down all this stuff. Yeah, a whole bunch of broads ended up getting nominated. So I don't know, just mark that down in your journal as just a red flag. So while most of the races in Nebraska, this is where the lone loss came out of, Representative Adrian Smith won the Republican primary for Nebraska's 3rd Congressional District. But then, yes, for the gubernatorial race, Charles Herbster, wealthy agricultural businessman, lost his bid for the GOP nomination. Herbster, who was present for the launch of Trump's campaign in 2015, lost to Jim Pillen, okay, who is a wealthy agricultural businessman who is a part of the Nebraska State Board of Regents. And those are the motherfuckers that are in charge of the colleges and universities. So pretty ingrained in the location. I thought it was a Pickett that was the current governor. Oh, Ricketts. Sorry. Ricketts family member, because he was a part owner. I looked at this yesterday or a couple of days ago. Part owner in the Chicago Cubs, but thought he was seeking re-election. So this Jim Pillen fellow, he's just, cut from the same cloth as Charles Herbert. He's just, more ingrained in the state. So, yeah, okay. The race also included Brett Lindstrom, who also campaigned for the most moderate candidate in the field. And I thought there was like 22 people on the ballot. So it's tough to keep everything on the up and up. Here's a little bit more information on this. Pillen, who secured the nomination for outgoing, Republican governor Pete Ricketts, raised $8.4 million over the course of his campaign, okay, as opposed to Herbster's $11.5 million, which he donated himself. Oh, okay. Maybe it's all right that he didn't get the nomination, because there's been some, let's just say, iffy endorsements from Trump. Marco Rubio, I'm looking straight at you. So still, overall, it's pretty fucking clear. Out of 59 races, Trump's endorsements pulled 58 victories. People are fed the fuck up with the establishment GOP. It's obvious. It's been obvious for a long fucking time, and this should just drive it home. Mitch McConnell should just pack it up and hope that rumor of his retirement after the midterms or after the 2024 election is true, because you're pushing 80, old fucking fossil. Just go home. Nobody likes you anymore. But with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.